Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video. Jay Eskar here. I'm super excited to be here because today I'm going to show you how I master. Let's get some things clear before we start though. Mastering isn't supposed to fix your music. It's supposed to improve it. So if there are any problems on your mixing, mastering is not going to fix it. It might fix some problems, but it's not supposed to. Let's say your kick and your bass are clashing. You're not going to fix that on your mastering. That's supposed to be fixed on your mixing. Mastering, to me, it's basically like adding a cherry on top of a cake. It's not supposed to create the cake. It's just supposed to make the cake look better. AKA, make your mix sound better. So yeah, let's just go right into the project, show you what I do for my mastering. I have a project open, as you can see, and it's actually a song which got released on Mixmash last year, October 16th, something like that. And it's called Ignite, which I made with Sefring and Hazel. So I'm going to play the song without mastering, and then I'm going to play the song with mastering so you guys can know what you can achieve if you properly do mastering, okay? So without any mastering, sounds like this. Now with mastering, it sounds like this. Okay, now that we listen to both. Normally, whenever you're doing mastering, you gotta know where you're going. You don't wanna just open Ozone, select a preset, and go with that. To me, mastering should have a goal or should have a purpose. So what I suggest you is listen to the song without any mastering a couple times and understand what's lacking. The way you can do this is by listening to other reference songs. So make sure to go on YouTube and stuff like that. Listen to the music that you like. Listen how they sound compared to yours, specifically harmonically. Obviously, you don't want to judge how a melody sounds when you're mastering because, I mean, you're not creating melodies right now. You're just fixing the way they sound. So in this case, if we listen to the song again without any mastering, it sounds like this. If I listen to this like really short snippet, I know that the sounds could be sounding a little bit more glued. The way you can achieve that is by using compression, which compression, if you don't understand, basically takes all the peaks down and then all the low peaks, it takes them up. So they basically compress. Like let's say you have a can of beans, all the beans in the cans are compressed. That's basically how I see compression. If you think about it, you could actually make the can smaller and smaller and all the beans would get smashed. That's basically what compression is. You're basically compressing all the ingredients inside your product. So to start off the mastering side, I'm going to disable everything but the first sounds. What we did for the first step of the mastering process, we added a compressor called the glue, which glues sound together, you know? Let's play it without. Now let's activate it. It's an extremely subtle thing. I actually have the threshold at -4.4 and there's a wet mix of 69%. There's not much happening, but there is something happening. For the next part, we added Ozone 8. It's basically imager, which is the most important thing on this Ozone. I'm creating everything below 117 Hertz mono. Everything else, it's been pushed up a little bit. Everything between 2K and 10K are being pushed 21%. So they're getting wider. This is basically the way modern music sounds. It's modern width. That's how they call it. Anything below 125 Hertz or something like that should be mono most of the time. That way, when you're in big PA systems and stuff like that, it can sound controlled and not super wide and then disappear with phase cancellation and stuff like that. Then we added a dynamic EQ, which is boosting some frequencies at 1K and also at around 6K up. As I've said before, this EQ is basically a very small push on the sound. If you go to band 3, for example, we're only pushing 2 decibels. So that's the only gain we're acquiring from this EQ. If we go to 6, we're also pushing 2.2 decibels, which isn't a lot. If you're ever using an EQ on your master, I would suggest you put a limit on how high you can go. Usually goes between 3 decibels and 6 decibels if you're feeling like brave. But usually if you're pushing something with an EQ on your master, don't go above like 3 decibels. If you feel like a certain sound is lacking, let's say high frequencies, all you got to do is go into your mixing and then fix that sound inside of the mix. A lot of problems that I encounter when I'm mastering aren't really on my master side, are all on mixing. So for the third plugin on Ozone, we've used Dynamics, which is a multiband compressor. We pretty much did what I've done with the glue in the beginning. We basically limit and also compress a little bit of the lows, a little bit of the low mids, and also the mids. All of the highs basically here are just not being much affected. If you can see the lows, we actually added a -4 limiter and also added a threshold for the compressor at -15, which isn't really affecting. Let's listen to this soloed. Now without it, with it, it's just adding a little bit of thump to it, a little bit of color to it, and so forth for the other sounds. So let's move forward. Now we got a multiband compressor. Let's listen to it without it. Now with it. All we're literally doing with multiband compressor is adding a little bit of gain on the low band. Literally. We're not doing anything else. Everything else is off. So mid band is off, high band is off, low band is also off. I mean, the compressor is off. All the compression here, there's no compression. All we're doing is adding a little bit of gain. I know you can do it. You can basically do this with an EQ, but we decided it was good with this. So just boosting at 1.4, 1.5 decibels for the lows. Super subtle. On to the next one. We move forward to Luftikus. This is a EQ, very good EQ. What we're doing is -1 decibel on 160 hertz. Also make sure mastering is turned on, analog as well. And we're boosting some of the highs, which is something cool that this plugin has. You can choose whatever range you want. We chose 10K and we also pushed 0.50%. And that's pretty much what we did with this one again. If we listen to without it, with it, you can actually hear that this really helps the leads. It adds that little crunchiness to leads, even though this isn't a distortion plugin. It's helping all the distortion inside the mixing. It sounds very, very clean and I love it. Hopefully you guys can hear the difference. So again, let me play it again without it, with it. It's very subtle. Then we move forward to Vintage Warmer. For this, we're basically just using it as a brick wall. It's basically what it is, a brick wall. How do you enable that in here? You basically turn this on and that's it, literally. Let's listen to it without it and then with it. Just a brick wall. After that, we move on to Pro Q2. What we're doing here is controlling the sounds again. We're getting rid of everything below 10 hertz. And we're also getting rid of everything above 19,000 hertz, 19K hertz. We also added a little bit of boost on the 12, almost 13K. And we got rid of some of the mid-low frequencies because we felt like the song was sounding a little bit boxy. So when you add this, you control the sound a little bit so it sounds cleaner. Usually when you're mixing or mastering, all the sounds that tend to add muddiness to your sound are usually around 200 hertz to 500 hertz. So be aware of that. That's why we removed some of the frequencies at 257 and also at 600. A little bit above the normal, but it sounded pretty good. Without it, sounds like this. Then you add it. It just adds a little bit of more color, as you can hear. After Pro Q2, we went ahead and added some FabFilter Pro MB, which basically adds more mid frequencies, but only the good ones. You know, it's a dynamic multiband compressor. So let's listen to this. And it's just a subtle thing. It's basically the range goes all the way up to 3.67 decibels, but it's not doing it so much. The attack is super fast. The release is kind of fast as well. And we're just using a threshold of -16. That's pretty much what this is doing. The ratio also is at 1.20, which is basically like doing nothing to the compressor. It's just a little bit, and a little bit. You add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then at the end, it's a whole plate of really amazing sound. After that, we added an EQ. I love this EQ. I actually learned this from Luca Bertolesi. And what I did with this was basically add air to the song. So yeah, we basically added this choosing 40k hertz, and I boosted the air for like 2.5. It's moving like crazy right now, but at 2.5, something like that, and it sounded beautiful. If we listen to the song without it, it sounds like this. Now with it, and it actually adds air. To me, let's say you have a cake and then you add cherry on top, it sounds good, right? But this EQ, to me, it's like adding like syrup on top of the cake. It's like even better, you know? So basically this one's adding air, and you can hear that. It's adding air. It's not adding like annoying high frequencies. It's just adding the good spacious air. And almost as the last plugin, we added Gulfos. If you don't know what Gulfos is, it's basically an AI EQ, which gets rid of annoying resonances. So let's listen to it without it. Now let's listen to it with it. As you can see, it's moving around here and here and here. This plugin finds these frequencies, and then you tell it if you want to recover frequencies that are lacking or if you want to tame frequencies. In this case, we added a basically line at 200 hertz, which means we're not affecting anything below 200 hertz. You can actually move this and then affect the bass as well, but we felt like it was removing a lot of bass, so we just left it at 200. Now, if we play it, you can actually see this thing moving. It's like magic. Right now, it's actually moving for some reason, but you can see it moving, and it's not always moving in the same place. It's moving depending on where there's resonance, which is fabulous. I really, really love that. It's also getting rid of some of the highs around here, around at, I don't know where this frequencies is. This is like 18K or something like that. And last but not least, we got Invisible Limiter. This thing sounds gorgeous. Really, it sounds gorgeous. For this one, all we did was basically leave it on factory preset, and add a little bit of gain at 2.85 decibels. Like I've said, everything we've been doing is being like adding 3 decibels of this, adding 3 decibels of that, and then at the end, getting a fabulous result to my taste. Let's listen to the song once again without any mastering, and then listen to the song with mastering one more time. Now with messing. Not everyone might enjoy this, but it got the job done, and it also served its purpose. Like I've said, when we started doing this mastering process, we knew what we wanted. We wanted more control over the lows, more control over the mids, more control over the highs. We basically, with this mastering, we basically achieved what we wanted. And that's the goal. You don't want to just, like I've said before, open an ozone, find a preset that you like, and that's it. Unless it works. Because like I've said, there's no really rules to this. The end result, it's what matters. So these are basically the 10 steps that I do to master my music. Hopefully you find this useful. Hopefully you found something that you're like, oh, I'm going to do that on my own mastering chain. This is basically it. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I guess I will see you on the next video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, Let me know in the comments if you want to connect with me. All my socials are Jay Eskar. Instagram's Jay Eskar. Facebook is Jay Eskar. Everywhere, TikTok Jay Eskar. I guess I'll see you guys around. Hopefully you guys have an amazing day. I wish the best for anybody watching this. I'll see you later. Bye bye.